All right, what do you do with a bad day? Okay, what do you do with a bad day? Sometimes we just experience bad days, don't we? So what do you do? You know, maybe you practice some self-care. So taking a bath, drinking some wine, maybe going for a workout or calling a friend to chat, right? What do you do? Now, sometimes that's actually really good for you, okay? So, there's this whole self-care, mindfulness kind of movement out there right now that's giving lots of really great ideas on how to basically calm your nervous system. So, meditation is a really good one. Visualization is a good one. Using your imagination. Just as a side note, if you want to put in those 3 keywords into our search engine option, I will go ahead and leave in the comments the link for our search engine. Go put in imagination, meditation, and what was the last thing I said? I don't know. Put in self-care and see what pops up. And if you would like some more ideas on those things, I've done tons of podcasts and videos on those topics alone, okay? All right, so, doing whatever you can to have good self-care is good. And you know what? It's not good enough. And I'm going to tell you why. Typically, self-care focuses on, like I said, calming your nervous system. So you've had a rough day, so you come and you calm your nervous system. That's really good. But then what? How do you change your thinking after that? Right? Because if your life is really going to change, you got to change your thinking. Taking care of your body is one method of calming things down so you can be ready to change your thinking. Most people, they don't do that part, okay? And therefore, you might have a bad day. You come, you do your self-care, you feel so much better, you go to sleep, you get up. Guess what? You go about your day, and it's another bad day, right? And then you come home and you do your self-care, and it's this cycle that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. So how do you break that cycle? Marcus Aurelius had this quote. He said, "No one can hurt me by myself, for as no one else can make me forsake the good and embrace the bad." I love that. No one can hurt me by myself. No one else can make me forsake the good and embrace the bad. And that really makes me think of this idea of what is a bad day, right? What's a bad day? And how do you change your thinking so that what might be a bad day could actually end up being a good day? Okay, so let's play around with a couple perspectives, and I'm going to do it through a few examples. The first example I thought of as I was preparing was recently. So within the last 6 weeks, as I'm recording this, our neck of the woods, for those of you who are not familiar with the state of Michigan or even the United States, we are in the northern part of the United States. I am particularly located in Midland, Michigan, which if you were paying attention about 6 weeks ago to the national and international news, you saw that we had what was called a 500-year flood. And we had 3 dams break and just astronomical damage. And quite frankly, if you're a praying person, I would ask prayers still for our area because it's going to be quite some time before things are really back to normal. Parts of our community are still really suffering. So just send your good thoughts our way. But as I was thinking about that 500-year flood, that's a bad day, right? When the police and firemen are driving down your road, knocking on your door, saying, "Hey, get out. You have 1 hour. Get out." That's a bad day. So what do you do with that? Well, in order to turn it into a good day, one thing, obviously, we said, hey, what do we need to do, right? So we took those measures of, protecting our house, protecting our valuables, honestly, just grabbing what was important and leaving, right? But the thing I noticed throughout all of that, as we're talking to our kids who are 10, 13, and 15 and saying, hey guys, this is the situation. This is what we need to prepare for. We need to take care of our very important stuff. Well, all of a sudden it became, well, what's important, right? And what I thought my children would say was important turned out to be something different. So it was an opportunity for me to see kind of a window into their souls. So yeah, I mean, it's a rough day that you've got to go through that, right? But you could still turn that into a good day. You know, I've also during this COVID time, unfortunately experienced the loss of several just dear friends of mine and clients, and that's been difficult. You know what? That's been hard. And supporting friends that have lost loved ones, not just from COVID, but just this week alone, I have five friends who have lost their mothers. Now, some of them knew it was coming. Some of them it was a surprise. And you know what? The day that you lose a loved one, especially your mother, guess what? That's a bad day, right? So how in the world do you turn that into a good day? It's not like you can go home and take a bath and drink some wine and everything's going to be okay, right? But I found that the friends who are able to say, you know what? It is what it is. And guess what? This is a great opportunity to celebrate them, to remember them, to connect with family. Of course it's hard. Of course you're going to have to deal with that. I am not trying to make light of any of these situations. I'm just saying, you know, you get to determine, is this going to be a bad day, a horrible day, or is this going to be a good day, even in bad circumstances? Okay? And then the last thing I thought of was, you know, fast forward about, 10 years ago, and I had a stroke. I was very young, had very young children, and I had a stroke. Guess what? You know, when the day starts off normally and you're just going about your day, doing your thing, and then at the end of the night when you're in the hospital and the doctors have told you you will never have a normal life again, guess what? That's a bad day. Okay? No bath or wine or workout is going to help for that, right? So what do you do with that? Again, Marcus Aurelius said, "No one can hurt me by myself, for no one else can make me forsake the good and embrace the bad." So, of course, you have to go through the acknowledgement of this is what's happening, right? However, that doesn't have to remain your future. You can look at it and say, you know what? How am I going to turn this around for good? And in that situation, it might take a few days, right? But that's what I was able to do. I was able to look at that and say, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to start dreaming, for me to start thinking about what do I want to do in life and where do I want to go? Because at that point, nobody had any expectations on me. I didn't have to please anybody. I was fully free, basically. So there was no freedom in my body at the time, but I was free in my mind. And I turned that into a good day. So no one and nothing, listen to me guys, no person and no circumstance can make you forsake the good and embrace the bad. That is fully on you. I ask you to be responsible for your freedom. So, you know, while you're doing those self-care things, because those are still important, please, I don't want anybody to think that I'm negating those. Those are still very important because what happens is, you know, as you're going through and you're doing that and you're calming your nervous system, now you are ready to attend to the changing your thinking part, okay? You can't just jump into the changing your thinking part because, you know, if your brain is still on that stress, you're going to be limited in your creativity and your ability to solve problems. So do your self-care, and while you're doing that, I want you to play around with perspective. So much like I did with the 500-year flood and said, oh wow, look, I know more about my kids now. Or I said, okay, here's the loss of a loved one. Let's celebrate them. And I said, oh my gosh, stroke, that's a bad day, right? But we turned it into good. So play around with perspective. Where can you find the good? And also, while you're doing, you know, that workout or having the chat or sitting and drinking your wine, with every sip that you drink, think about something that you're grateful for in your life. Because that will flood your nervous system with really good hormones, and that is the best self-care that you could ever do. And that is taking responsibility for your freedom and turning the bad into something good. Okay? You got to care for your body. Okay? You got to care for your mind, you got to care for your soul. If you only care for your body and not your mind and soul, you will be leaking power and energy. Hey, I hope this was helpful for you today. I hope it got you thinking. If you would like to talk with me about this, please feel free to reach out. I would love to chat with you. And again, if you are interested, in 2 days, we are doing our live teaching call on the self-image mastery. And on that call, we're going to cover 10 tips that can really help you with exactly what we've been talking about today. How do you change your thinking? Okay, so if you really want to delve deeper into this topic and say, okay, I'm ready to be responsible for my freedom, join us on the call on Tuesday night. And then at the end of the call, you can also ask your questions live. I would love to do that with you. So with that, I release you into the wild. Go forth and prosper. Have an amazing day, and we'll catch you next time. All right, bye-bye.